In this video, I'm going to share my trick for creating beautiful border brushes in Procreate. These brushes have a persistent line through them, which makes them really perfect for any type of borders or frames, even decorative lettering without compromising readability. You can use these brushes to speed up your workflow and add fun details to make your pieces truly one of a kind. Let's get started. I'm going to start with a square canvas since we're creating brushes. So my canvas size is 2000 pixels by 2000 pixels at 300 dpi. I work in the display P3 color profile, but if you're on an older iPad and don't have access to that, then the default sRGB color profile is perfectly fine. The first thing we're going to do is go grab a free brush. We are making a combination brush for these border brushes. So I want to show you how that works, and that requires two brushes. So the first brush is going to be your default monoline brush. This is found in the calligraphy category, but we're going to make a few tweaks to it. So find that brush, slide it to the left and choose duplicate. On this duplicated one, you're just going to tap on it and we're going to go through the settings. We'll go through each category one by one, and we're just going to tweak just a few things. So in the stroke path, you can just leave that alone. Actually, let's bring the spacing down to like 10%. It doesn't need to be too high. Under stabilization, drag your amount all the way to max and everything else is fine. For the taper, I just remove any settings that the taper has. So I drag both ends out, reduce the size, turn off tip animation, touch taper. Down at the bottom where it says classic taper, that's fine to leave that on. Under shape, you just want to make sure the rotation, drag this all the way up so it says follow stroke. That part's pretty important. And then you can leave your grain alone. Under rendering, you want to change this to heavy glaze. Under wet mix, reduce the pull down to none. Under properties, for the two brushes that we're making, they're going to be a little bit different when it comes to maximum size. So we're just going to change this to 25% for now, and then change your minimum size to 1%. Up here, reduce your smudge pull down to none, and then toggle on orient to screen. And then down here, minimum opacity, drag that all the way up to max. So this one kind of has the most changes here. And then everything else is fine. We'll rename this brush Updated Monoline, and then hit done. For the second brush that we're going to combine this brush with, we're going to duplicate this one because they're going to share a lot of the same settings. And now we need to make our brush shape. So now we've got our updated monoline, and then we have the copy of the updated monoline. Now we get to create the brush shape for our second brush. So this is the fun decorative shape, and you can really use any brushes that you would like. I'm going to use a watercolor brush for mine. I love the aesthetic of that with leaves especially. So I'm going to grab the Tuesday water brush from my Messy Watercolors brush set. It's my favorite watercolor brush to use in Procreate, and I just love the look of the leaves that I get for it. So in order to get our canvas just the way we need it to make this brush shape, we need to add a black background to our canvas. So double tap where black is, drag it to the background, create a brand new layer right above it, and then switch your color to true white. Next, we need some guidelines here. That way we know where that persistent line is going to be in our border brush. But tap on the wrench, go to canvas, toggle on drawing guide, and then hit edit drawing guide. You want to drag your grid size all the way to max. And then obviously we can't see it very well here because it's black. So just tap anywhere on the rainbow slider to select a lighter color. And then I'm going to increase the thickness and the opacity so we can see it a little bit better on screen, and then hit done. Now that I've got my water brush selected and I'm on that brand new layer with white selected, I'm just going to draw two leaf shapes. And you want to make sure this vertical line is our persistent line. You want to make sure that it's going to touch that vertical line. So I have one drawn going that direction. I'm going to draw one going this direction. And we're all set. So now what I like to do is group both of these together and then duplicate that group. And then we're going to flatten the top group. That way, if I ever change my mind about anything, I have those layers separated. So I'm going to flatten that top group and then just tap on the layer thumbnail and choose copy. Now we're going to head back to where we made those monoline duplicates and select that second duplicate. So tap on that brush to go into the settings and then tap on the shape category. And then up here, you're just going to hit edit, import, and then choose paste. And now these are pasted in. I'm going to hit done. And if we just draw this out, you can see it's super tiny and it's hard to tell what's going on. So let's increase the size of this. So go to properties, and this time under brush behavior, under the maximum size, we're going to bring that up to max, and then go to stroke path and increase the spacing. So these are nicely spaced apart. That's feeling much better now. I'm at about like 40% for this. And then hit done. Let's name this. I'm going to call this one Watercolor Leaves. Now I need to combine this one with the updated Monoline brush. This part's really important though. You need to make sure that you're selecting the watercolor leaves brush before the updated Monoline. That will make the watercolor leaves brush the base brush for the combination brush. So with the watercolor leaves brush selected, you're going to drag the updated Monoline brush to the right. And now you can see the watercolor leaves brush has a brighter blue color, so that's how you know. And then with both of them selected, you're going to tap on combine up here. And now it's a combination brush. Let's go into that brush now and we'll just draw out. And we can't really see what's going on super well right here, so I'm going to increase the preview size. If we draw this brush out, you can see that it doesn't look completely accurate, and I'm pretty sure that this is a glitch in Procreate because we want to actually test it out first on our canvas before we start messing around with our settings in the Brush Studio. So I'm actually going to hit done right here and then turn off my existing layers, create a brand new layer up at the top. I'm going to choose like a green color, and then let's also turn off our drawing guide. So wrench, canvas, toggle drawing guide off, and now with this new brush selected, let's draw with it. And it's actually working perfectly. Really not sure why the Brush Studio doesn't always represent what it looks like, but this brush is definitely working the way it needs to. And we've got a fully working, beautiful border brush. So I do want to tell you about a few things that you need to be aware of when you're using these. Just the nature of combination brushes in general and having that like pattern feel to it. The first thing is you'd never want to rotate your canvas with it. I'm the type of person that when I am writing on just a regular sheet of paper, I always turn the paper. So I'm kind of writing at an angle. If you turn your canvas, it's not going to appear right. You can see these edges get a little off, whereas if it's straight on, it's going to look a lot nicer. You can see this angle right here compared to this one. So just make sure when you're using your border brush that you've got your canvas nice and centered and straight. The other really big thing to know is that if your canvas ever becomes rotated, if I rotate my iPad so it's portrait, the canvas doesn't rotate with it, which means my canvas is going to appear more like this. So if your border brush ever ends up looking like this, don't change your brush settings. First check if it's your canvas that got rotated, because if we rotate it back, now it's behaving exactly as it should. So those are the two really big troubleshooting things that you need to know about these border brushes. But other than that, you can do some really cool things with them. Since you watched to the end of this video, I've got a massive freebie for you. I put together 30 of these border brushes, all with foliage styles, and you can find the link to them right below the like button. I want to show you what a few of these look like. There's all kinds of different styles in here, and they work the exact same as what you saw when we created the border brush together. So just make sure that your canvas is oriented properly when you're using them, and you will be good to go. These are super, super fun to play around with. So now that you know how to create border brushes, if you want to learn how to create pattern brushes in Procreate, you'll want to watch this video next. And once again, the link to those 30 border brushes are right below the like button. I'll see you next week.